A lone voice begins a mic check, broadcasting from high above the Earth. His transmission is set against the backdrop of a colossal space station tearing itself apart. Major Dong-ai of the Atalante crew officially begins his final desperate log. He sends a message of grim news, unsure if it will ever reach home. The Arcadia mission, humanity's grand plan for relocation, is in ruins. Reflected in his visor, the fiery end of the mission confirms his solemn declaration of failure. It all began with a classic tale. Humanity, facing an environmental collapse, chose to flee their home. Their solution was a monumental planetary migration, leaving a dying world behind. Massive rockets were aimed at a new star system, targeting the planet Kepler 3265b. This new world, their promised paradise, was codenamed Arcadia. He reports their ship, the Atalante, was crippled by an unknown attack, likely killing the hibernating crew. Now adrift, he can only watch their green paradise, Arcadia, from a distance, completely powerless. With a final plea for his crew to be remembered, Major Dong-ai signs off his transmission forever. He briefly wonders if anyone could have escaped the chaos and reached the life pods, but he quickly crushes that flicker of hope, accepting his own inevitable end. As he floats, his hand unexpectedly bumps into a familiar object. It's his guitar, a strange and personal relic in the cold emptiness of space. He remembers his plan to finish an entire album by the time they reach their new home. The dream of playing in a band on a new world now floats away with the station's wreckage. He wistfully recalls his heroes and the simple desire to make music until the very end. His hand tightens on the guitar's neck, ready for one final performance. He decides to play one last regrettable song amidst the fiery destruction. But a sudden jolt interrupts his concert before it can even begin. A flashing alert on his suit signals an escape pod is just 32 seconds away. He looks up in stunned silence, that dismissed flicker of hope now a blazing reality. In the distance, a lone pod with thrusters firing rockets directly toward him. The pod, bearing the Atalante's insignia, opens its hatch in a silent invitation. A mechanical arm shoots out, grabbing him from the endless void. He's yanked inside so forcefully that his beloved guitar is left behind. Now inside, an automated system instructs the crew member to secure himself. An automated system presents him with a single lever to begin the escape sequence toward the planet's gravity. With renewed determination, he grips the lever, realizing he can't afford to give up now. He yanks the control, and the pod violently jettisons toward the planet below. The pod blazes through the atmosphere, a fiery meteor carrying one of humanity's last survivors. His destination appears, a breathtaking landscape covered in endless fields of red flowers. The pod plummets toward the surface, its landing system struggling against the rapid descent. It crash lands with immense force, carving a deep crater into the alien soil. After skidding to a halt, the battered pod lies still amidst the vibrant red flora. The impact has clearly taken its toll, leaving the pod heavily damaged and fractured. The hatch blows open, the sudden exposure to the planet's gravity leaving him completely disoriented. He gazes out at the endless sea of red flowers, wondering if he's somehow reached heaven. But the reflection in his visor tells him this isn't the afterlife. It's the real thing. He has finally set foot on planet Arcadia, humanity's last hope. Identifying himself as crew member 67, Dong Young-soo, he begins to record his official arrival. His suit's diagnostics reveal a pleasant temperature, but an unbreathable, low-oxygen atmosphere. While surveying the landscape, his report is cut short by the shocking sight of another person. He focuses on a mysterious, red-hooded figure kneeling silently among the flowers. Overcome with hope, he urgently demands the person's name and rank, desperate for another survivor. His relief turns to dread as a strange, viscous liquid drips down the figure's helmet. Suddenly, a monstrous skeletal creature erupts from the ground, revealing the figure was nothing but bait. The creature reveals a massive, bladed arm, its sharp claws poised to strike. It swings its deadly limb down with incredible speed, aiming to crush the lone astronaut. Dong-ai is sent flying backward from the sheer force of the attack, tumbling across the alien soil. He quickly recovers his footing, landing gracefully on one knee with surprising agility. The monster's terrifying form is reflected in his visor as he struggles to comprehend this new threat. He analyzes the massive arthropod-like creature, realizing that a direct confrontation would be foolish. But a close-up on the monster's glowing red eye reveals it has already marked him as its prey. With escape no longer an option, he braces himself as the creature lunges forward for another attack. He quickly unsheathes his standard-issue survival knife, his only defense against the behemoth. Clutching the small blade, he prepares to face the alien monster in a desperate fight for his life. He deploys a spike from his boot, digging into the alien soil to brace for the impact. The monster's arm slams down, launching him helplessly into the air. Twisting mid-flight, he narrowly dodges the limb as it crashes into the ground where he just stood. He hits the ground hard, tumbling uncontrollably from the sheer force of the shockwave. The creature rears back, its scorpion-like tail now poised to deliver a fatal strike from above. Realizing he can't win from a distance, he devises a new, much riskier strategy. His plan is to get onto the monster itself, using its own body as a path to its weak spot. As the beast lunges forward with its jaws wide open, he waits for the perfect moment to act. He jams his knife into the ground, using the small blade as a pivot to launch himself forward. In a stunning display of agility, he leaps onto the monster's face, aiming directly for its eye. His determined reflection stares back from the monster's eye, the target now in reach. He channels all his strength into a single desperate punch aimed at the vulnerable orb. His fist smashes into the gelatinous eye, the sheer force of the impact cracking his glove. A geyser of purple liquid erupts from the wound as the monster thrashes in agony. The enraged beast retaliates, swatting him away with a powerful sweep of its bladed arm. The creature's scorpion-like tail crashes down, pinning him helplessly beneath its immense weight. Pinned and powerless, his visor reflects his sheer frustration at this dire turn of events. Just as the beast prepares a final blow, a targeting system locks onto it from an unknown location. The shot's origin is revealed, a mysterious figure in a white suit positioned behind a massive sniper rifle. The mysterious sniper fires, unleashing a devastating beam of red energy straight at the monster. The energy beam strikes true, piercing the monster's thick skull in a brilliant flash. The beast stumbles back in agony, purple fluid erupting from the fresh wound on its head. It lets out a silent, pained roar, its remaining eyes burning with renewed fury. Wasting no time, the mysterious savior charges forward, rifle at the ready. She launches herself toward the flailing creature, moving with incredible speed to aid the trapped astronaut. As she approaches, the monster's massive tail begins to lift, freeing Dong-yi from its crushing weight. A wicked blade extends from her rifle, scraping against the ground as she closes the distance. She expertly parries a sweeping attack from the monster's bladed limb with her own weapon. Seizing the opening, she thrusts her bladed rifle directly into the creature's gaping maw. With a display of immense strength, she pries the monster's jaws apart, preparing for the final blow. With a powerful grip, she uses the rifle to apply immense pressure on the monster's jaw. The creature's skull begins to splinter and crack under the sheer force of her attack. She unleashes one final, point-blank energy blast, sending it straight through the beast's head. The colossal monster finally collapses, its reign of terror brought to a decisive end. Dong-yi kneels in the dust, watching as his savior stands victoriously over the fallen creature. He gets to his feet, trying to convey his overwhelming gratitude for being saved. But the mysterious figure simply turns and walks away, completely ignoring his presence. Stunned by her cold dismissal, he gestures desperately for her to stop. He reaches out, trying to get the attention of the silent warrior, who is his only sign of other life. His suit's internal system analyzes her actions, noting her human-like but threatening behavior. He throws his knife into the ground, a desperate attempt to halt her departure. The silent warrior finally pauses, her helmeted head tilting as she assesses his origin. He reasons that if she resembles a human, there's one sure way to prove he's friendly. To prove his humanity, he begins to remove his helmet, hoping to build trust. He believes revealing his true face will be the ultimate sign of peace. His savior observes him in silence, a puff of blue vapor escaping her helmet. She plants her enormous rifle into the alien soil, deciding to see what he'll do. In a shocking turn, she begins to remove her own helmet in response. His eyes widen in disbelief, caught completely off guard by her action. The helmet comes off, revealing not a human, but a blue-skinned woman with a surprisingly flustered expression. He realizes that in her eyes, both he and the monster are just different kinds of aliens. He questions why she saved him, wondering if it's because he looks more like her than the beast did. The blue-skinned woman offers him a canteen, her gaze steady and unreadable. He hesitates, knowing that accepting a drink from a stranger on an alien world is a huge risk. His mind races, listing all the potential poisons the canteen could hold. To prove her intentions, she draws a diagram of a water molecule in the sand. After explaining the drink, she points to herself and introduces herself as Kai. Trusting her, he notes his suit's readings confirm he can briefly survive the atmosphere. He takes a drink, recalling a briefing on first contact protocols. His training flashes back, reminding him to use formal English for any potential communication. He formally thanks her for the life-saving drink, returning the canteen. Following protocol, he introduces himself by his full name, Dong Young-soo. Kai mishears his name, looking utterly perplexed by the foreign sounds. He attempts to offer a handshake, but the simple gesture is lost in translation. Despite the language barrier, he believes they can find common ground through shared actions. Suddenly, a massive vehicle tears through the field of red flora. It's revealed to be an armored transport pulling a heavy-duty trailer. The trailer carries the immense carcass of the monster they just defeated. They travel across the endless, beautiful flower fields of her planet, Boomy. Riding alongside his new ally, he feels a sense of fortune for having reached this world. He would soon learn a terrible truth about this beautiful alien world. This dazzling planet is on a collision course with annihilation, with only 5 years left. The defeated creature's head is unceremoniously hauled away, a testament to the planet's harsh reality. He continues his official log, documenting his miraculous survival and arrival at the target planet. He sits beside his rescuer, acknowledging his successful first contact with the planet's native inhabitants. However, he now knows this refuge is temporary, as its time is also running out. Their journey leads them to a massive, imposing structure that serves as a base of operations. The transport proceeds into a dark, mechanized hangar built into the structure's foundation. Their vehicle is lifted on a massive platform, ascending through the heart of the base. Looking up, he's awestruck by the colossal scale of the alien civilization's hidden fortress. The platform locks into place, revealing the entrance to a cavernous, high-tech hangar. Giant, bioluminescent, mushroom-like structures fill the interior, serving as pillars for the massive cavern. After disembarking, Dongi watches as Kai remains seated on the transport, surveying their destination. Kai then walks purposefully up a metallic gangway towards a communication console. She picks up a transmitter, making a formal report to an unseen authority. From below, Dongi observes her, understanding that she is announcing his arrival. Her report finished, she pauses for a moment, her expression unreadable. He watches her intently, realizing his fate now rests in the hands of this alien civilization. Nearby, another worker begins carving into the monster's hide with a powerful, sparking blade. Kai herself gets to work, expertly dissecting the creature's head to harvest its resources. She pulls a dark, viscous organ from the monster's severed head. With a flick of her wrist, she throws a slab of the creature's flesh onto the cavern floor. The giant, mushroom-like pillars immediately react, their tendrils crawling toward the fresh meat. Dongai watches in amazement as the fungi act like animals, swarming and consuming the offering. He realizes these aren't just pillars, they're being farmed as a food source. Her task complete, Kai gestures for him to follow her deeper into the base. He obediently gathers his salvaged equipment and walks toward her. Kai wipes sweat from her brow, letting out a sigh of exhaustion after the long day. Standing over the stained transport, she holds the massive saw used for dissection. She finally turns to him, correctly pronouncing his name as a sign of gratitude. A tense silence hangs between them, the massive dissection tool a stark reminder of their differences. He internally laments their inability to communicate, determined to find a common language. Kai speaks in her native tongue, motioning for him to wait before leading him further into the base. She approaches a high-tech console, apparently searching for a way to translate between their languages. He tries to use her language, attempting to convey that he is from a different world. He listens intently, trying to mimic her words in a desperate attempt to connect. She points to a screen, showing him something as she continues to speak in her unfamiliar language. His gaze shifts to a nearby workbench, discovering a collection of small, hand-carved figurines. Intrigued, he picks up a small, creature-like carving and shows it to her, a silent question in his eyes. Kai looks back, her expression one of surprise as he holds up her personal handiwork. In a flash, Kai snatches the small carving out of his hand. She recoils in complete and utter confusion, caught completely off guard. He immediately worries that he's crossed a line and made her angry, but looking closer, he realizes her expression isn't anger, but pure bewilderment. He decides complimenting her art is the best way to connect, but struggles with how to do it non-verbally. Believing a smile is a universal gesture, he prepares to offer one, despite the awkwardness. He forces a wide, toothy grin, intending it to be friendly but looking utterly menacing. His attempt at a smile only terrifies her, resulting in a catastrophic failure to communicate. He then considers a thumbs up, but dismisses it as a culturally specific gesture she likely wouldn't recognize. The OK sign is also ruled out, as he recalls it can be deeply offensive in other societies. He abandons his previous ideas, settling on a gesture he believes is truly universal. He recalls that the heart is a core symbol of positive emotion across human cultures. Putting his theory to the test, he forms a heart shape with his gloved hands. Kai watches him, her initial shock giving way to a look of genuine curiosity. He points to the carving, trying to communicate his admiration for her handiwork. He then repeats the heart gesture, hoping she understands it as a sign of approval. A flicker of understanding crosses her face as she processes his strange pantomime. In a gesture of peace, she gently places the small carving back into his open palm. With a slight blush, she finally speaks, giving the carving a name in her own language. He holds the figure, realizing he's just learned his first alien word for the creature, Balaya. He gently cradles the small figure, admiring the craftsmanship up close. A small smile forms as he acknowledges her impressive skill as a carver. Flustered by the genuine praise, Kai blushes, her surprise evident. She then correctly pronounces his full name, Dong Young-soo, solidifying their connection. With a newfound warmth, she invites him over to her workbench for a proper introduction to her world. Standing side by side, they begin an impromptu language lesson using her holographic display. Kai points to a detailed image of the creature, confirming its name is Balaya. He compares the carving to the hologram, cementing the new word in his memory. She eagerly continues, showing him a new creature and teaching him its name, Yerapa. Next, she introduces a pudgy, amphibian-like creature, identifying it as a bangkong. She continues the lesson, identifying a white, bipedal creature as a rumpang. The next hologram displays a blue-spotted lizard, which she names Kadal. Overwhelmed by the new vocabulary, he juggles the small carvings as she watches with delight. He internally admits the alien words are difficult, concluding she must be a passionate animal lover. He contrasts the cute creatures she's shown him with the far more hostile life forms he's encountered. Remembering the terrifying monster from before, he decides to ask her about that specific creature. She misinterprets his intent, thinking he's asking what she likes, and returns his heart gesture. Realizing words won't work, he pulls out his personal data device, searching for a picture. He presents the glowing screen to her, calling her Langet as she stares in curiosity. On the screen is a photo of a cat from his world, which he affectionately introduces as Kongdaeoki. He recalls his formal training, where an instructor stressed the importance of proper language with aliens. The memory emphasizes the need for educated communication, a rule he is about to completely ignore. Overcome with affection for his pet, he forgets all his formal training in a single moment. He struggles to find the right words, his raw emotion almost getting the better of him. Kai attempts to repeat his flustered words, her expression a mix of awe and confusion. Realizing his mistake, he quickly clarifies that the creature is called a cat and mentally scolds himself. He observes her fascination, concluding that a love for animals must be a shared trait. Seeing her genuine delight, he realizes that passion for one's interests is a universal language. The exchange prompts Kai to think about her own passions, her mind flashing to an image of a guitar. As she turns to leave with his device, he quickly stops her, not wanting the moment to end. He reaches over the hood of a nearby armored vehicle, searching for something important. Pulling out a guitar, he's relieved to find his prized possession is still in one piece. He calls out to Kai, who turns back with a questioning look, still holding his data device. Settling down, he prepares to show her his own passion, just as she showed him hers. He explains that his love is for music, sitting atop the vehicle as she watches intently. With a practiced hand, he plucks the strings, ready to share a piece of his world. Suddenly, a small wheeled robot zips past them in a cloud of dust. Startled by the interruption, Kai calls out his name in alarm. Her expression hardens with concern as she watches the robot's frantic retreat. The little robot speeds off, broadcasting a panicked warning about an approaching threat. The little robot frantically tries to get Kai's attention, its digital face twisted in panic. It skids to a halt before them, interrupting their peaceful moment with an urgent alert. Young-soo recalls the gravity of the situation, a memory that would only make sense later. Kai turns to the robot, her voice laced with confusion as she questions its sudden appearance. The robot repeats its frantic message, a warning that Young-soo doesn't yet understand. He later learns the robot was warning of a dire threat, a danger that had claimed others before. Kai processes the unfamiliar word, her expression shifting from confusion to dawning horror. Without a second thought, Young-soo drops his prized guitar, abandoning his song. He leaps from the armored vehicle, his focus shifting instantly from music to survival. Landing solidly on the ground, he prepares to face whatever threat is heading their way. Wasting no time, the trio rushes towards a heavy-duty blast door, seeking safety. Kai frantically works the control panel as the robot identifies their destination as Ingress. When the door fails to respond, she turns to Young-soo, her expression confirming the lock is broken. He recalls her earlier communication attempts, realizing this place is in just as much trouble as he is. With the controls useless, Kai resorts to brute force trying to pry the massive door open herself. Young-soo inspects the damage, noticing the door's frame is bent significantly downwards. He stares at the warped metal, concluding a powerful impact must have caused the damage. She strains with all her might, her hands finding purchase, but the door refusing to budge. As she struggles, Young-soo realizes her desperate plan is to force their way through. Changing tactics, she kneels and gives a command to the small robot, calling it to action. The robot hesitates, its hand hovering over a glowing red component on its chassis. Its digital face displays a look of deep sorrow, as if it knows the cost of its next action. Tapping her on the shoulder, the robot offers her a small cylindrical device. But Young-soo interrupts, calling her name to get her attention. He confidently strides past them, indicating for her to step aside as he approaches the door himself. Finding a handhold in the damaged frame, he prepares to use his own strength to open it. Kai can only stare in utter astonishment at his bold and reckless attempt. He roars with exertion, his body straining as he pulls with all his might against the warped metal. Suddenly, 2 canisters detach from his suit, spilling their vital contents onto the floor. The strain proves too much, and he collapses as a horrified Kai rushes to his side. Kai screams the little robot's name, her expression twisted in terror. The robot, Hiji, immediately moves to retrieve the canisters from Young-soo's suit. Its mechanical hand purposefully reaches for the vital red and blue containers. Wasting no time, Kai grabs the blue canister and quickly twists it open. She tears open his shirt, revealing his skin has turned a dangerous shade of red. She immediately pours the canister's cooling blue liquid over his chest. The substance works instantly, his skin transforming from red to blue as he exhales in relief. As she checks on him, he responds in her native tongue, confirming he's all right. A look of dawning realization crosses his face as he processes the impossible change. His memory flashes back, showing him standing alone in his suit just before his ordeal began. They sit together, their skin now a uniform blue as they try to make sense of the impossible event. Still weak from the ordeal, Kai helps him to his feet, supporting his weight. His memory flashes back again, showing his face inside his helmet before this all began. He recalls first encountering the little robot, which seemed to be waiting for him in the empty hall. But the memory shifts, revealing Hiji with a different suited figure, its previous companion. The two are shown wandering through the desolate, abandoned facility together. The robot playfully stretches its antenna, a brief moment of levity in a grim place. They stop before a blindingly bright light, a destination that seems both hopeful and final. The previous owner calls out to the little robot, getting its attention one last time. The memory returns to Young-soo, who formally introduces himself to his new inherited companion. The robot extends its arm, formally accepting Young-soo's introduction. Without another word, Hiji suddenly zips across the room. Its mechanical claw activates a device, casting a projection onto the far wall. The image reveals a strange, alien world with a vast red landscape. The robot identifies this world with a name, clarifying the location for them. A memory shows its previous owner staring at the same planet, his expression full of longing. Hiji continues its data dump, presenting another key term from its memory. The projection changes to a brilliant glowing orb, also identified by a specific name. The memory shows the previous owner looking at the orb, but mistakenly calling it by the planet's name. Hiji's memory reveals it had to correct its former companion, clarifying the 2 different names. The memory shows the previous owner once again misidentifying the glowing orb. Hiji patiently corrects him, providing the proper name for the planet instead. Her former companion pieces together the alien language, trying to understand the terms for the planet and its sun. The robot continues the lesson, projecting an image of a meteor to teach a new word. Next, it displays a haunting image of a corpse, associating it with another grim term. The man in the memory processes this dark vocabulary lesson, linking the words to meteor and death. The memory concludes with the previous owner walking away, the weight of his new knowledge apparent. Back in the present, Young-soo turns from the projection, his face reflecting the gravity of what he's learned. He now faces Kai, who stands silently beside him, holding a guitar. The previous owner suddenly appears before them, delivering a stark message about a great delay concerning Earth. The previous owner, Dong Young-soo, formally introduces the blue-skinned man by a new name. Ingress. Dong Young-soo's spectral form plants its feet, grounding itself in their reality. He then demands to know the nature of the great delay he warned them about. Ingress reveals he's pieced together the truth from the alien words. A meteor fell. To illustrate, Heeji's claws activate, preparing another projection. The robot displays a devastating explosion, a mushroom cloud that signals utter destruction. The memory reveals Dong Young-soo's horrified face as he witnessed the cataclysm. Ingress translates the grim prophecy, confirming a meteor is headed for Earth. Dong Young-soo adds another layer to the warning, mentioning death, Earth, and a specific time frame. He then questions the final part of the message, seeking to understand the countdown to doom. Heeji continues the lesson, projecting the alien word for sun. It then displays the term for Earth, Bumi. The robot gestures, combining the words for year and 5. Dong Young-soo's memory shows him piecing it together, realizing Bara signifies 1 year. Ingress connects the final piece, confirming Lima means 5, making the time frame 5 years until death. He delivers the chilling conclusion: a meteor will destroy Earth in 5 years. The spectral form of Dong Young-soo stares in disbelief, processing the catastrophic news. He clutches his guitar, questioning the purpose of his mission in the face of planetary annihilation. A memory flashes back to his final thawing procedure, identified only as crew member 67. The system prompts him to state his mission, a question that now carries an impossible weight. The system issues a grim warning: inconsistent data will trigger a disassembly procedure. A nearby robot offers to retrieve personal items to help jog his memory. Dong Young-soo stares into the void, questioning his own identity. With his past a blur, he sits on his pod, guitar in hand, searching for answers. His fingers instinctively find a familiar chord progression on the fretboard. He realizes this specific melody is the only clear memory he has left. A memory surfaces of him playing alone at the Houston Space Force Base. His friend Dean would often join in, adding his own rap verses to the tune. The scene shifts to an earlier time, playing the same guitar in a simple boarding house. In this memory, a young woman named Maria practiced her singing, accompanied by his melody. A memory reveals his ultimate dream, performing on stage for a massive crowd. This ambition was fueled by constant, dedicated practice on his guitar. Back in the cryopod, the system demands he state his identity and mission. He confidently identifies himself as Major Dong Young-soo, Chief of Maintenance for the Atalante. The system then requests his self-designated codename for the mission. With unwavering resolve, he spells out the name that defines his spirit. His official codename is revealed: Rockstar. In the present, his spectral form clutches his guitar, remembering his duty to protect the ship and its crew. Realizing he's the only one left, he desperately questions what happened to the Atalante. He reasons that such a massive ship couldn't have vanished completely, hoping to find its engine. Ingress reminds them of the planet they're fighting for, Bumi. But Young-soo's spirit refuses to accept defeat, declaring the mission is far from over. Ingress grimly repeats the prophecy, stating Earth's destruction is only 5 years away. Young-soo's spectral form counters, filled with a newfound resolve to defy fate. A memory shows the original Dong Young-soo preparing to teach Heeji the key to their survival. He grapples with the immense challenge of explaining human knowledge from scratch. The robot begins its lesson by learning its new companion's name. Dong Young-soo is taken aback, not expecting the robot to learn so quickly. Heeji then points to the notebook, curious about the strange symbols of human language. The lesson starts with the basics, linking a simple image of an apple to its written word. In the past, Dong Young-soo patiently begins teaching Heeji the English alphabet, starting with the letter A. The robot diligently follows along as the lesson progresses through the alphabet. Ingress and the modern Heeji watch the memory, witnessing the origin of their ability to communicate. Heeji's education advances to verbs and pronouns, piecing together a simple sentence. The astronaut brings the lesson to life, physically demonstrating the concepts for his robotic student. He breaks down the sentence, first identifying himself to teach the concept of I. He follows up by miming the action of consumption, defining the verb eat. A physical sandwich solidifies the final word, food, completing the simple but vital phrase. The astronaut sees the spark of understanding in his student, a sign that his efforts are working. A closer look at the notebook reveals a detailed, hand-drawn dictionary, a testament to Young-soo's incredible dedication. The robot slowly sounds out the word dictionary, processing the complex human term. It then rapidly flips through the notebook, absorbing the entire language database in an instant. Young-soo watches in awe, stunned by the robot's incredible learning speed. The lesson quickly graduates from handwritten notes to an official basic English textbook. Having fully grasped human grammar, Heiji asks its teacher what he desires. The astronaut reveals his plan to destroy the meteor, but the robot deems it impossible. Young-soo explains he cannot return, as the spacecraft that brought him was destroyed. He insists that finding the Atalante's remains is the key to stopping the meteor. In the present, Ingress watches the memory, telling Heiji to listen carefully to what comes next. The original Heiji then asks Young-soo to explain the method for their impossible mission. Young-soo presents his handmade science manual, ready to teach the fundamentals of the universe. He opens to the first lesson, a handwritten chapter on chemistry. The lesson begins with the most basic concept, the periodic table of elements. Heiji instantly scans the entire table, absorbing the data in a flash. The robot lies on the floor, reciting the elemental symbols it has just learned. It continues to process the information, moving down the list of elements with incredible speed. Heiji then identifies the components of a common molecule, 2 parts hydrogen. The robot follows up by identifying the final component, 1 part oxygen. It correctly deduces the formula for water, revealing that its own civilization uses the same scientific principles. Stunned by this revelation, Young-soo wonders just how much this advanced being already knows. Heiji struggles to pronounce the name of a mysterious new element from the notebook. The robot is shocked to see a diagram for Appleton, an element humanity apparently discovered. It processes the stunning revelation that humans were the first to identify this substance. The notebook reveals Appleton is a form of dark matter, a concept that puzzles the robot. Young-soo confirms it's a substance invisible to light, only reacting to gravity. Heiji expresses disbelief that humanity could grasp a concept beyond its own civilization's science. Young-soo brushes aside the complexity, stating that what's important is their ability to utilize it. The memory shifts to the Atalante, where a superior quizzes the crew about Appleton particles. The maintenance crew, including a younger Young-soo, stares back in complete confusion. Realizing the information is classified, the superior prepares to give them a need-to-know briefing. The superior begins the briefing by confirming their basic understanding of atomic structure. He reveals Appleton is an element where positrons orbit a dark nucleus, defining it as dark matter. The official states that Appleton is the only form of dark matter humanity has ever discovered. He then unveils the massive engine of the Atalante, which runs entirely on this exotic fuel. The superior casually clarifies that the crew is only looking at a real-size model. He assures them the model is more than enough to grasp the engine's fundamental structure. The engineer then singles out Dong Young-soo, identifying him as the maintenance section chief. He summons Young-soo's team to ascend the scaffolding for a closer inspection. As Young-soo gets closer, the superior points to a specific symbol near an entrance. He then demonstrates a secret mechanism, showing that the back of the symbol opens a hidden panel. The superior reveals a manual hidden inside, containing a top-secret protocol. A diligent Young-soo immediately asks what kind of mission it details. The superior opens the book, revealing the chilling words, self-destruct sequence. A shocked Young-soo questions the need for such a devastating final option. The officer explains that the dark matter engine doubles as a powerful antimatter bomb. A high-ranking official then steps forward to explain the Atalante's true classified objective. He theorizes that their destination, Arcadia, may host a civilization that evolved just like humanity. But he poses a dark question. What if that civilization is superior and hostile? The answer is simple and brutal. Detonate the engine and inflict irreparable damage. The memory fades, and Young-soo confirms to Heiji that this destructive power is key to his current plan. Heiji confirms the engine's true purpose as an antimatter bomb and turns to Ingress for guidance. Ingress falls silent, contemplating the heavy implications of Young-soo's plan. He then addresses Young-soo with a strange new title, Mautamara. The memory shows Young-soo deciphering the alien term, connecting Maut to the concept of death. He grimly concludes that the full title must mean to kill. In the present, Ingress puts the weight of the decision squarely on Young-soo's shoulders. The memory Young-soo, however, refuses to be a passive participant in this deadly choice. He boldly declares that he alone will be the one to make the final call. Ingress and Heiji watch intently, awaiting the human's ultimate decision. Young-soo's choice is made. He wants to find the engine, and he wants to do it with Heiji. Ingress questions Young-soo's motives for revealing such sensitive information. Heiji echoes the sentiment, asking why he would share humanity's secrets with them. Young-soo explains that this truth is the only way to earn their trust. He then declares his intention to use the very power humanity created. The ultimate goal, he reveals, is to use that power to save Bumi. Young-soo extends his hand, asking Heeji to join him in this cause. Heeji stares back, silently weighing the human's desperate proposal. She makes her choice, reaching out to accept his hand and forge an alliance. Her expression hardens with resolve, fully committed to their shared path. Young-soo meets her gaze, his own determination reflecting the gravity of their pact. Heeji's hand closes firmly around Young-soo's arm, sealing their unlikely pact. Ingress adds his hand to theirs, cementing the three-way alliance with a solemn gaze. The moment is broken by the robot, demanding to know the meaning of a human curse word. Young-soo calmly defines it as a term for when feelings run exceptionally high. The robot falls silent, processing this peculiar new piece of human linguistic data. Having learned its lesson, the robot emphatically agrees to their dangerous plan. Young-soo gives a firm nod, his face set with the grim determination of their mission. The robot's mechanical hand joins the others, a symbol of their united, desperate resolve. The story flashes back to an Atalanti briefing, where an official explains their journey will span 3,000 years of Earth time. A younger, pensive Young-soo listens as the speaker ominously discusses a worst-case scenario for their home planet. The official warns that over the long journey, humanity on Earth might suffer a severe technological regression. A younger Young-soo listens, learning that their mission is to build a new settlement while maintaining contact. His notes reveal a grim focus on emergency protocols, underlining the importance of communication with Earth. The speaker presents the Deep Space Message Composition Manual, the crew's only link back home. The memory fades as Young-soo begins a new log, identifying himself and stating it's been 10 days on planet Bumi. He records his message from a Spartan room deep within Bunker 16, a guitar resting beside him. His first order of business is to report on the modifications being made to the spacesuits for exploration. He explains that the suit's outer layer can be removed to access the parts needing modification. Heeji observes as a crane lifts the bulky outer shell off the spacesuit, readying it for the overhaul. The robot, diligently reading a manual, asks about upgrading the suit's battery and breathing equipment. Young-soo points out the obvious flaw, questioning how they'll explore without the full suit. The robot counters that a modified Bumi helmet would be more practical for using local weaponry. Young-soo concedes the point, turning to Ingress to see if the modification is even possible. The robot confirms Ingress believes it's feasible, as the two aliens continue their work on the suit. The robot then inquires about the helmet's built-in communication systems. Young-soo agrees, suggesting they strip out the now useless communication components. Continuing its study of the manual, the robot questions the function of the suit's water tank. As he confirms the robot's query, Young-soo is suddenly struck by a sharp pain in his head. The robot quickly deduces the problem, a mismatch in atmospheric pressure. Young-soo grits his teeth, revealing the pressure he's accustomed to is double that of Bumi's. The robot learns that while Young-soo can adapt to the pressure, it's a long and painful process. Young-soo directs Ingress's attention to the suit's bright orange oxygen tank. Ingress quickly identifies the connected device as an oxygen filter, a shade in his language. The robot proposes a brilliant solution, repurposing the filter into a temporary respirator for Young-soo. Now equipped with a makeshift breathing aid, Young-soo records the team's clever workaround in his log. He reports that the suit's modifications are almost complete, with the battery transformer nearly ready. His log also details his rigorous exercise routine, using scavenged oxygen tanks as weights. Young-soo explains the necessity of this training to counteract the muscle and bone atrophy from his long space journey. He then reveals the biggest obstacle to his recovery is the lack of proper nutrition. The human grimaces, admitting his diet on this alien world has been nothing but a steady stream of mushrooms. Young-soo grimaces at the bland taste of the only food Ingress has deemed safe for him to eat. He explains to Heeji that his diet consists of mushrooms, prepared in every conceivable way. It seems the entire planet shares his predicament, as Heeji also eats a mushroom, highlighting the world's scarce resources. In his log, Young-soo notes his concern over long-term malnutrition and the urgent need to find alternative food. He also reveals that his training regimen now includes combat practice to prepare for the dangers ahead. Heeji and the robot show him a projection of their greatest enemy, the Gurita, monstrous creatures that arrive on meteors. Young-soo recognizes the beast from his first day on Bumi and questions if the locals are currently at war with them. The robot delivers a grim and final verdict. The war is already over, and the Boomians were defeated. Undeterred, Young-Soo's resolve hardens, accepting that a fight is unavoidable. With a cold, determined gaze, he asks for one thing: a lesson on how to destroy their common enemy. The robot begins its combat briefing, explaining the key is to destroy the Gorida's vital organs. It lists critical targets like the brain and heart, which must be struck to neutralize the threat. Young-Soo thoughtfully notes their anatomy sounds surprisingly similar to Earth's vertebrates. The robot confirms his theory, stating the creatures are, in fact, vertebrates. Standing before an array of alien weapons, Young-Soo is introduced to the most basic firearm, the Naga. The machine clarifies that a Naga is their equivalent of an electromagnetic railgun. Young-Soo confidently hefts the alien rifle, looking ready for his first lesson. Heiji points out the true danger lies in close combat, which is unavoidable when the Gorita charge. The robot announces that Heiji, now called Langet, will be responsible for Young-Soo's close-quarters training. Langet fits her breathing mask, silently accepting her new duty as his combat mentor. Langet takes a steadying breath, her focus sharpening as the training is about to begin. Young-Soo learns that while the Naga is a powerful rifle, it's ineffective when the Gorita inevitably charge. The robot introduces the Terra Naga, a hybrid weapon combining a 4-shot rifle with an attachable blade for close combat. Langet explains their combat philosophy. Blocking a Gorita's downward leg strike is an attack in itself. She raises the weapon high, demonstrating the upper block needed to counter the beast's overhead attacks. The robot explains the physics of the counter, revealing that even the toughest carapace is no match for metal when force is redirected. Young-Soo thoughtfully analyzes the technique, committing the upper stance strategy to memory. A combat diagram prompts Young-Soo to correctly deduce the use of a lower stance for low attacks. Langet instructs Young-Soo to follow her lead, demonstrating the upper block one more time. Young-Soo hefts the heavy weapon, attempting to mimic the upper block stance for his first practical lesson. A sudden, unseen force slams into Young-Soo's weapon, sending sparks flying as he's pushed back. Stunned by the unexpected power, he struggles to understand where the immense impact came from. The robot explains this is a taste of a real Gorita's strength, something a hologram could never replicate. A challenging smirk appears on Young-Soo's face as he asks if he can return the favor with his own power. Langet calmly accepts his challenge, ready to face whatever the human can dish out. The robot clarifies that they are using training weapons, not the real deal. It then gives them permission to go all out, even if it means breaking the equipment. Wasting no time, Langet lunges forward, bringing her blade down in a powerful, sweeping arc. Young-Soo meets her strike head-on, their weapons clashing with explosive, ground-shaking force. His eyes narrow with fierce concentration, determined to hold his ground against his mentor's assault. Langet's eyes gleam with golden intensity, reflecting the sparks of their fierce clash. Later, a weary Young-Soo records his log, noting the Boomian's use of stimulants in combat as he preps for an expedition. He then turns to a different task, consulting a manual that suggests sending songs as a form of deep space communication. The manual is inspired by Earth's Voyager mission, detailing communication principles and referencing its famous golden record. He recalls how the original record carried a cultural snapshot of Earth, including classical music and world folk songs. Admitting his own musical tastes are limited to rock, he resolves to record the songs he knows best. With his guitar in hand, he begins to play a classic rock song about a lonely astronaut. Langet watches from a distance, captivated by the unfamiliar human music. She seems to question the meaning behind the song's lyrics, but Young-Soo admits he can't recall them perfectly. Undeterred, he decides to improvise, determined to complete his musical message for the stars. His musical session is cut short when Langet appears in the doorway, getting his attention. She informs him that his custom-made spacesuit for the expedition is finally ready. Without a word, Young-Soo gets up and follows her to the preparation area. He walks with purpose, his recording device still in hand as he heads towards his next mission. Upon arrival, another Boomian crew member greets him by name, standing by the equipment. Young-Soo lays eyes on his gear, a massive AMU spacesuit hanging from a mechanical rig. He uses a remote device to begin the suit's activation sequence, watching the system load. With a look of intense focus, he confirms the suit's power core is now online. A harness lowers him into the hulking frame of the advanced environmental suit. The suit's systems engage, and he tests its power by clenching the massive gauntlet into a fist. A Boomian technician applies the finishing touches, welding custom modifications onto the human's suit. Young-Soo feels the heavy armor lock into place, its systems venting steam as they come online. The technician steps back, admiring his work and confirming the modifications were a complete success. He then presents the helmet, indicating the final test is whether the life support functions correctly. Without hesitation, Young-soo secures the helmet, sealing himself within the combat-ready armor. He takes a steady breath, the suit's filtration system working perfectly as it vents excess air. Fully equipped, he looks out onto the alien world, his mission about to begin. Stepping onto the red planet, he immediately kneels, spotting several Gurita near a crashed ship. His helmet's targeting system instantly acquires 2 of the creatures in its crosshairs. Confirming multiple hostiles ahead, he raises his rifle ready to open fire. He announces a countdown before unleashing his attack on the creatures below. The scene cuts to a mysterious masked figure in a red cloak, standing in a field of flowers as a count begins. A robotic hand clenches a weapon, continuing the ominous count. As red petals drift by, the masked figure concludes the countdown, ready to act. The story rewinds to the mission briefing, where a Boomian commander addresses Young-soo and the team. He reveals a holographic map, marking the positions of multiple crash sites they must investigate. The commander designates their first target, a vital radar installation. This coastal base, he explains, is the planet's primary defense against anything falling from orbit. Their task is to infiltrate the facility and retrieve its radar tracking and satellite reconnaissance data. He concludes that if they want more answers, the radar base is where they must go. The commander reveals a secondary target, a mountain-based satellite communication hub, as another potential source of data. He reaffirms their primary objective remains the coastal base, where they hope to find their first real lead. Young-soo proposes a detour, suggesting they scavenge for visible debris from his crashed ship along the route. He believes they can recover valuable supplies from the wreckage of the Atalanti. Langet appears intrigued by the idea of salvaging items from Earth. Young-soo specifies they might find crucial resources like weapons, food, and even plant seeds. The mention of seeds clearly piques Langet's interest, sparking a curious thought. She eagerly asks about the possibility of finding cat seeds, much to Young-soo's bemusement. A small robot interrupts, running a final check on their mission preparations, including a sample of Young-soo's blood. Young-soo confirms a refrigerated blood sample is already loaded, a detail that seems to please Langet. The robot explains the blood sample is vital, as Young-soo is the only human available for a transfusion. It then offers a final, sincere plea for the team to return from their mission unharmed. The commander begins a final roll call, addressing a confident-looking Langet first. He then turns to Ingress, the technician, who stands ready for the assignment. Finally, the commander calls out to Young-soo, who meets his gaze with unwavering resolve. The scene jumps forward again to the red planet, where Young-soo observes the alien creatures near the wreckage. His helmet's targeting system immediately acquires 2 of the hostile life forms. He takes aim with his rifle, initiating a countdown before his planned attack. In a parallel scene, a mysterious masked figure also aims a weapon, continuing the ominous count. Surrounded by red flowers, the cloaked individual confirms their target is locked and ready. Young-soo's countdown concludes as he locks his sights on the target. He unleashes a powerful blast of red energy from the barrel of his rifle. The beam streaks across the crimson landscape, heading straight for the alien creatures. His shot finds its mark, striking one of the Gurita directly in its head. The creature is thrown backward from the force of the impact, its form erupting. Its companion lets out a silent roar of fury, its massive jaw wide open. The remaining Gurita immediately pinpoint Young-soo's location and begin to charge. Another member of the team, armed with a massive blade, stands ready by their vehicle. The enraged creatures thunder across the field, their monstrous faces filling the view. With the enemy closing in, Young-soo braces himself for a close-quarters battle. The monstrous Gurita stampede across the red terrain, closing the distance with terrifying speed. Young-soo watches the approaching horde, calmly assessing the optimal moment to strike. The commander, seeing his opening, decisively signals for Langet to unleash her attack. From the creature's point of view, Langet acknowledges the command with enthusiastic readiness. Perched on a high vantage point, Langet fires a volley of guided energy blasts down upon the enemy. Her precise shots pierce through the tough hide of one of the charging beasts. The creatures cry out, stunned and wounded by the sudden, powerful assault from above. One of the surviving Gurita redirects its fury, charging directly at the lone swordsman, Ingress. Unfazed, Ingress grips his blade, calmly explaining his simple strategy for countering the beast. The camera pulls back, revealing the massive size difference between the warrior and the colossal creature. Suddenly, a mysterious blue-skinned woman with red markings appears, exhaling steam with fierce determination. She leaps from a high cliff, wielding a massive pile bunker-like weapon. Her powerful descent cracks the ground as she lands with perfect form. Without hesitation, she intercepts the charging Garita, driving her weapon straight into its maw. The force of the impact completely obliterates the creature, splitting it in two. She stands triumphantly over the remains, her weapon planted firmly in the ground. The beast's head lies defeated among the red flowers, its life extinguished in an instant. Her helmet retracts slightly, revealing the same determined blue-skinned warrior, now venting cool air. Ingress lowers his sword, placing a hand on his helmet in silent disbelief. He turns to the newcomer, clearly annoyed that she just stole his moment of glory. Langet smugly blows a puff of air, clearly relishing the fact she stole Ingress's kill. The commander intervenes, reminding Langet that Youngsu was designated for this part of the combat training. Her triumphant mood vanishes as Langet offers a silent, regretful apology for overstepping. The commander alters the plan, instructing Youngsu to scout the Adelante wreckage alone for now. Youngsu accepts the order without question, turning to proceed with his solo mission. He glances back to see Langet getting a talking to, but quickly refocuses on the task ahead. Youngsu approaches a massive, gaping hole in the ship's hull, identifying it as a storage bay. Inside, he confirms the area holds the crew's equipment and personal storage containers. He navigates the wreckage, reasoning that the ship's vital black box must be near the airlock. Youngsu carefully climbs over scattered cargo, making his way deeper into the damaged vessel. Youngsu's search leads him to a wall-mounted voice recorder, sealed behind emergency glass. He wastes no time, shattering the protective casing with a single decisive punch. With the device in hand, he holds the key to uncovering the ship's final moments. He finds a suitable spot amidst the debris and prepares to access the recording. Youngsu connects the recorder to a portable playback unit, ready to hear the truth. A flashback plays, showing the robot Aleph declaring its unwavering commitment to crew survival. The recording reveals a frantic crewman named Dean, insisting this very equipment was vital for Youngsu's survival. Youngsu listens intently, piecing together the conversation between the determined human and the logical machine. A startling realization dawns on him as he questions if Dean orchestrated his survival. The flashback shows Dean desperately trying to intervene, only to be blocked by Aleph rigidly adhering to its protocol. In the flashback, Aleph coldly orders Dean to return to the escape pod. But Dean, filled with defiance, declares their discussion finished. Back in the present, Youngsu sits stunned, the weight of the recording settling in. He wonders just how much Dean managed to accomplish against the robot's strict protocols. Looking around the bay, he even questions if his own guitar was saved by Dean's sacrifice. Deciding to investigate, he resolves to start by checking the already opened storage containers. Suddenly, Langet's voice calls out from below, offering to help with his search. Eager to make amends, she insists on joining him and begins dropping down supplies. Several large containers tumble down to the lower level of the cargo bay. Langet lands beside him, hoping the items she brought will be useful for his mission. Youngsu reports back to the commander, having successfully retrieved the black box and several weapon cases. He also mentions finding a few personal items, holding up a journal that seems to hold special significance. The journal belongs to Dean Daniels, the very crewman who defied orders to help him. The commander takes charge of the recovered items, ordering a weary Youngsu to stand down and rest. As dusk settles over the red landscape, the commander sits alone to begin examining the new evidence. He opens the journal, finding an entry from Dean describing Youngsu's knack for uniting the crew with his music. The commander's expression turns grim as he reads on, absorbing the weight of the crew's final days. The journal's words trigger a flashback revealing a much younger, clean-cut Youngsu. In the memory, he is addressed by his former rank, Lieutenant Dong Youngsu. The flashback solidifies his military past, showing him formally saluting a superior officer. The superior officer returns the salute, putting the young lieutenant at ease. Back in the present, Langet leans over his shoulder, curious about the journal he's reading. She asks what it says, and he begins to read an entry from the day Dean was selected for the Arcadia mission. The journal details Dean's first encounter with Youngsu, where he mistakenly assumed they were of equal rank. Youngsu reads on, learning of Dean's initial annoyance at his stoic, high-ranking demeanor. The memory shows a solitary Youngsu, reinforcing the image of a man set apart from his crew. Langet finds the entry amusingly relatable and asks to see the other recovered items. The journal triggers another memory, this time of a decorated Youngsu in his formal military dress. A senior officer acknowledges his salute, the scene echoing his past military discipline. In an office setting, the officer addresses him as lieutenant, revealing a different rank than the one Dean mentioned. The flashback introduces Alex Chung, a civilian official now part of the Joint Space Exploration Headquarters. Beside him sits Personnel Staff Officer Connor Callahan, a man who clearly holds authority. A younger, more formal Young-soo presents himself as a logistics officer for the 23rd Space Brigade. The two men prepare to interview the young officer, their expressions serious and professional. Young-soo provides a textbook answer for his enlistment, to protect the lives and property of citizens. The officer, Callahan, eyes him skeptically, questioning the sincerity of his written statement. Unfazed, Young-soo calmly confirms that the patriotic reason is indeed his. Callahan probes further, bringing up his stated motive for space exploration, a simple yearning for a new world. Again, Young-soo affirms the idealistic answer without a hint of hesitation. Callahan holds up the application, unimpressed, and sarcastically asks if a chatbot wrote his generic responses. Callahan leans forward, demanding complete honesty for the rest of the interview. Alex Chung adds that this is also a psychological assessment. The civilian official encourages Young-soo to speak his mind freely, setting aside formal loyalty. Young-soo agrees to restart his answers, his expression now firm and direct. He bluntly admits he enlisted for college tuition and citizenship, shattering his patriotic facade. However, he insists his desire to explore another world was entirely genuine. As Young-soo speaks, Callahan takes notes, processing the unexpected honesty. The officer then connects the dots, asking if his family's death in a terrorist attack caused his financial hardship. Young-soo calmly confirms the devastating truth without flinching. Callahan presses deeper, asking how that traumatic event made him feel. Young-soo elaborates on his past, explaining he was overwhelmed by debt with no insurance payout. Callahan points to his file, accusing him of associating with delinquents to make money. Unfazed, Young-soo coolly asks how they obtained such detailed information on his past. The officer reveals they conducted extensive interviews with people from his old life. He admits to flipping electronics but insists he never threatened anyone or stole. Young-soo adds that he stopped these activities completely after the Martinez family took him in. Callahan seems to accept this, the file showing a picture of a woman from the aforementioned family. The interview shifts to his deployment in Kazakhstan, specifically his time with Alex Chung during combat. Alex Chung eagerly praises Young-soo, noting how admirably he handled a surprise attack. Callahan dismisses the praise, demanding Young-soo describe his combat experience himself. Young-soo begins to describe his mission in the Kazakh desert, which was to recover a fallen meteorite. He explains the meteorite, valued at $60 million, was targeted by an armed group. In a memory, he's seen driving a transport truck under fire, acting as a decoy for his unit. Callahan dryly notes that Alex Chung's telling of the story was considerably more dramatic. The officer observes that Young-soo seems to grow stronger whenever he faces hardship, like applying for officer training right after. Young-soo agrees, believing that major events give him the courage to seek out new challenges. Callahan's gaze sharpens as he questions if these challenges are just a way to escape from trauma. The young officer's face falls, the piercing question hitting a nerve. Callahan offers his own blunt assessment, calling Young-soo a lucky escapist. He lays out a brutal pattern. Young-soo enlists after his parents' deaths, gets commissioned after his comrades fall, and now flees a doomed Earth. Young-soo admits that he has often felt the urge to give up in his life. He explains to the two men that in those moments one can either break down or endure. The young officer calmly states that those are the only two choices he has ever known. He firmly believes that if you keep enduring, the situation will eventually get better. Callahan changes the subject, pointing out that Camila Martinez is listed as his pension recipient. Young-soo is asked to confirm the details, and he signs the document without hesitation. The officer then informs him that his next mission will be classified as top secret. With the formalities seemingly over, Young-soo asks if he has passed the assessment. Callahan explains that his invasive questions were necessary, as perceived weaknesses can be strengths. He then slides over a new file, officially welcoming Young-soo to the top-secret Project Arcadia. Callahan reveals the mission's codename, Arcadia Mission, over a blueprint of a colossal space station. Young-soo begins to review the top-secret file, absorbing the weight of his new assignment. The officer assigns Young-soo his official role on the mission, Maintenance Section Chief 1. A promotion to Major is also on the table, awaiting him upon arrival at the mission's headquarters. However, Callahan tempers the news by reminding him he's still a candidate who must complete his training. Young-soo expresses his surprise, having assumed the role would go to a seasoned astronaut. Alex Chung clarifies that since the journey involves hibernation, they prioritize survival skills over flight experience. Callahan chimes in, confirming that Young-soo's combat record was the decisive factor in his selection. With the briefing over, a guide appears to escort Young-soo, his belongings already packed and moved. The two officials see him off, expressing their high expectations for the successful completion of his mission. As they walk, his guide makes a casual inquiry about his personal habits. Young-soo admits to smoking occasionally after training, but says he has quit drinking. The guide suggests they have enough time for a quick smoke break before they depart. Before leaving, Young-soo gives a final, formal salute to the two officials. The guide addresses him by his full rank, marking the official start of his new assignment. His escort is then replaced by two heavily armed soldiers in tactical gear. Young-soo follows his new guides, their boots crunching as they walk through the facility. They emerge onto a snowy airfield where a private jet awaits on the runway. Standing on the tarmac, one of the silent soldiers turns to face him. The soldier pulls out a pack of cigarettes, offering one to the new recruit. Young-soo politely declines the offer, waving his hand dismissively. The soldier explains he has a message from the personnel staff officer. He ominously informs Young-soo that this will be his last cigarette in life. Stunned by the news, Young-soo changes his mind and takes one from the pack. His escort flicks a lighter, the flame igniting in the dim light. Young-soo looks up at the falling snow, taking in the moment. He remarks on the unseasonable cold for July as they walk toward the jet. The stairs to the private jet are down, waiting for its sole passenger. With a determined stride, Young-soo steps onto the plane, ready for what's next. He gives a final confident look back before entering the aircraft. A guitar case with a lightning bolt sticker sits inside the luxurious jet, hinting at another passenger. An officer on the plane cheerfully welcomes a man in a long coat, calling him the musician. Young-soo, now in his formal uniform, looks on with a puzzled expression. The officer introduces himself as Dean Daniels, Young-soo's new deputy chief, offering his full support. Young-soo processes that this overly friendly man is his subordinate, leaving him unsure how to react. The jet lands at a heavily fortified and restricted military installation blanketed in snow. Inside, a group of officers, including Dean, stand together, seemingly awaiting their new superior. Dean's eyes light up with recognition as he spots the person they've been waiting for. Young-soo is formally introduced by his full title, carrying a box of his personal belongings. His new uniform proudly displays the rank of major, his promised promotion now official. Dean snaps a crisp, enthusiastic salute to his new commanding officer. The scene abruptly shifts to a bleak, snowy landscape, focusing on a few blades of grass. A giraffe's mouth suddenly appears, plucking the grass from the frozen ground. This surreal moment takes place in a ruined city, with a person lying motionless nearby. The giraffe stands tall amidst the urban decay, as missile trails streak across the sky. It calmly chews, seemingly unfazed by the apocalyptic scene unfolding behind it. The vision is replaced by the sight of countless rockets lined up for launch at the snowy base. Back in the present, Young-soo walks with purpose, carrying his life in a single box. He sets the box down in his new office, its contents spilling onto the table. Dean offers another bright salute, formally welcoming his new chief to the team. Young-soo formally introduces himself to his new team as Maintenance Section Chief 1. He immediately takes command, instructing the assembled personnel to take their seats. The soldiers comply instantly, raising their hands to signal they are ready for his next order. Young-soo begins a roll call, asking them to count off from right to left. One by one, the members of his new section begin to sound off their numbers. The count starts with his newly assigned subordinate, Deputy Chief Dean Daniels. Another soldier with striking orange eyes recognizes Young-soo from the private jet. Acknowledging him, Young-soo hands the man a stack of files to distribute among the team. The soldier readily accepts the task, beginning to hand out the documents to his colleagues. The roll call concludes with the fifth member, finalizing the count for his section. Dean reports the section's total manpower is 32, which Young-soo acknowledges with a nod. Young-soo immediately begins the briefing on the Arcadia mission, an alien planet exploration plan. He announces a grueling one-year training period where failure or quitting results in dismissal. The new chief stresses the gravity of the joint operation, labeling all information as top secret. He delivers a stark warning that any leak will be met with a swift CIA investigation. The soldier with the striking orange eyes listens with a pensive, focused expression. Young-soo quickly moves past the mission's grim premise, Earth's climate collapse, as common knowledge. He shifts to logistics, scheduling a comprehensive physical examination for the next morning. The team is instructed to fast after 9 o'clock in preparation for an endoscopy. With the administrative details covered, Young-soo declares that their main training begins the day after tomorrow. Young-soo reveals their first order of business is extreme physical conditioning. He explains the goal is to develop bodies capable of hibernation through intense weight training. The mission requires them to become healthily overweight, packing on both muscle and fat. In the gym, Young-soo spots a struggling Dean, pushing him to complete one last squat. After Dean racks the weight, Young-soo praises his effort and suggests moving to the theory class. However, Dean, sweating profusely, informs his boss that there's still one set remaining. Young-soo looks puzzled, believing they had already completed their 10 sets for the day. Dean calmly clarifies that it's Young-soo who has one set left to finish. The chief's face contorts in dread as he's reminded by his subordinate not to skip leg day. Back in uniform, Young-soo moves on, introducing the next training topic, the Adelante operation. An instructor announces the start of theory classes, with a quiz already scheduled on the chalkboard. The soldiers are immediately put to the test, one already looking defeated by the exam paper. A soldier's eye glints with a sudden, desperate idea as he stares at his test. The soldier with orange eyes is startled from his own work by his struggling colleague. The first soldier turns around, discreetly trying to get the answer for question 3. With a look of annoyance, the orange-eyed soldier simply points to his own paper. The cheating soldier squints, completely unable to decipher his colleague's gesture. His attempt is cut short as the instructor looms over his shoulder, having seen the entire exchange. Young-soo continues his briefing, announcing that practical training will follow the theory lessons. He reveals this training will take place on a full-scale, real-life model of the Adelante. Young-soo explains that upon waking from hibernation, each crew member will be assigned a unique scientific mission. He then adds that they must also undergo training for their arrival on the alien world. The first phase of this training is terraforming, where they practice growing vital crops like potatoes and beans. Dean proudly shows off his successful harvest, clearly impressed with his own farming skills. Young-soo, however, finds the manual labor of digging up potatoes utterly exhausting. He even questions the lack of coffee in the training, earning a sarcastic jab from a fellow crewmate. Shifting topics, Young-soo announces the next part of their training involves mastering their mission-specific spacesuits. While the suit has standard life support, its true purpose is demonstrated as engineers fit a soldier into its advanced leg piece. The suit's key feature is revealed, a powerful exoskeleton system designed for planetary exploration. To simplify, Young-soo compares the advanced gear to the kind of high-tech power suit seen in science fiction. The team begins combat training in their exosuits, preparing to face hypothetical alien threats. During the drill, Young-soo turns to Dean with what he believes is a brilliant idea to cut their workload. He suggests that simply using a mortar would make this entire tedious exercise unnecessary. Dean counters his chief's logic, questioning why they can't just load the spacecraft with explosives. An instructor overhears their lazy scheming and coldly asks for the name of the trainee who mentioned mortars. The evaluator promptly deducts points from Young-soo's score for his poor suggestion on planetary adaptation. He then mocks the section chief, claiming even the famous space dog Laika would have better sense. Young-soo is left completely baffled, having no idea who or what the instructor is referring to. As Dean explains the historical reference, Young-soo's face sinks in utter embarrassment. His subordinate looks on with pity, now genuinely worried about his boss's failing scores. Dean suggests they hit the books after their workout, much to Young-soo's utter dismay. Moving on, Young-soo announces the final crucial phase of their preparation, hibernation training. He warns that this part is so dangerous, everyone must sign a special consent form. With a snap of his fingers, the chief emphasizes that this grueling training cycle is endless. To make things more interesting, he introduces a robot that will be their personal data-collecting shadow. The robot, designated Aleph version 1, stares blankly ahead with its single glowing red eye. Young-soo explains this is the Atalante's AI, tasked with assisting them both inside and outside the ship. With the briefing over, he holds up a restricted smartphone and tells the team to line up. The first soldier in line identifies himself as Ryan Curtis, ready to receive his device. Dean steps in to help his struggling boss, offering to cross-reference the names on the roster. The next crew member, Chase Bennington, steps forward to identify himself. Young-soo formally introduces the Navy man as Dean diligently checks off the name. A cheerful soldier named Jocelyn Yates then asks for the most important location, the cafeteria. The AI Aleph offers to guide her, an instruction Young-soo quickly confirms. With her new device in hand, Jocelyn happily follows the robot out of the briefing room. Once the introductions are over, Dean apologizes for not recognizing his chief on the plane. Young-soo casually dismisses the oversight, telling him not to worry about it. Dean, however, isn't finished and extends his hand for a formal handshake. He pledges his complete support to Young-soo until the very end of the mission. The section chief accepts the gesture with a knowing, confident smirk. With a firm handshake, the two men seal their commitment to the mission. A crew member's diary entry recalls the early days of training, noting Young-soo's rebellious musical taste. The story jumps forward to a lone astronaut on an alien world, reflecting on how Dean ultimately kept his promise. The astronaut is startled by an unfamiliar voice, asking why a person named Langet is sleeping outside. A blue-skinned local gently wakes his companion, urging her to find a warmer place to rest. The female alien, Langet, sheepishly agrees and gets up from her makeshift bed. The local then approaches Young-soo, asking if he's noticed anything unusual in the quiet landscape. Young-soo dismisses the concern, stating he's going to get some sleep while the local agrees to rest too. As Langet settles into the vehicle, the local wishes Young-soo a peaceful rest. In a final flashback, Dean reflects on his journey, crediting his survival to the help he received from his rock star chief. Young-soo sits alone in his spacesuit, quietly mourning the loss of his subordinate Dean. A vivid memory flashes through his mind of a desperate final moment. The scene shifts to a vast alien world where a lone balloon floats above a futuristic outpost. A small, rabbit-like robot begins its morning routine with a communication check. The blue-skinned alien, Langet, responds to the call, confirming she's awake from her night watch. The robot then asks about the rest of the team, prompting Langet to check on them. Another alien, Ingress, announces he's awake and the robot demands to know who spoke. The dream shatters as a loud command jolts Young-soo from his sleep. The sudden wake-up call also startles Ingress, revealing they are in the same room. With everyone now alert, the robot announces it's time to begin their morning quiz. The robot begins its quiz with Langet, who easily translates a tactical phrase into English. She sits back with a smug grin, clearly pleased with her perfect answer. Ingress is next, managing a decent, if not perfect, translation about reconnaissance. With the aliens finished, the robotic proctor announces it's Young-soo's turn. The chief is given an absurdly complex sentence about neuroscience to translate into the alien language. Still half asleep, he sits up in disbelief, certain he must be dreaming up this ridiculous test. The robot insists this knowledge is vital for building rapport with humans. Young-soo struggles intensely, trying to piece together the alien vocabulary for the technical terms. After he finally gives up, the robot immediately gives him a much simpler phrase to translate. Utterly defeated, Young-soo provides the deadpan English translation, perfectly summing up his will to participate. The cheerful robot confirms his perfect translation, revealing the phrase means he's a fool. With the quiz seemingly over, Ingress sarcastically asks if he can get some more sleep. Later, their balloon-like vehicle drifts calmly across the alien sky. Their calm journey is abruptly disturbed as the balloon begins to lurch in the air. On the platform below, Langet and Young-soo calmly sip a beverage while traversing the vibrant red terrain. Young-soo turns to Ingress, asking how much longer their journey will take. Langet glances up from her position, eavesdropping on the conversation between the two men. She cheekily repeats the alien phrase for "I am a fool," clearly mocking Young-soo's earlier translation. Ignoring Langet's joke, Ingress calmly estimates their arrival time to be around sunset. The chief glumly repeats the self-deprecating phrase to himself, looking utterly defeated. Langet breaks into a fit of laughter at Young-soo's expense, while Ingress looks on with concern. The team begins to pack up camp, untying the anchor for their communication balloon. Young-soo efficiently coils the rope, preparing their equipment for departure. With a determined expression, Ingress gives the final command to move out. Their armored vehicle kicks up red dust as it travels across the alien terrain. From inside the transport, Langet's watchful eyes scan the passing landscape. She sits quietly in the vehicle's cabin as Young-soo begins a weapons check on the floor. He picks up a futuristic rifle, giving it a thorough inspection. Ingress, piloting the vehicle, turns to ask for a status report on their armaments. Young-soo reports the weapons are in good shape, but require power cells for a full functionality test. Ingress turns from the pilot's seat, inquiring about the specific type of weaponry they have. Young-soo explains they are rapid-fire railguns and plasma cutters, useful for both combat and utility. A sly smile crosses Ingress's face as he considers the potential uses for such a powerful tool. The chief immediately suspects Ingress is already scheming to modify their equipment again. He then opens another case, explaining that crew members were allowed to bring personal hobby items like his guitar. Young-soo pulls out a comic book, noting that another crewmate must have packed it for the journey. He asks Langet if she's the one who found the comic, and she admits it caught her interest. The chief questions why she was looking at it so early, admitting he couldn't decipher the text. A close-up reveals a page from the manga, showing its distinct art style and unfamiliar script. Young-soo calmly identifies the language as Japanese, a term that is completely new to his alien companions. Young-soo clarifies that unlike their world, Earth has numerous languages spoken in different regions. He explains the comic is a school story, showing a panel of students enjoying snacks together. The concept of school is completely alien to Langet, who asks for an explanation. Young-soo defines it as a place for children to learn and asks how her people are educated. Langet reveals her entire education came from Ingress and Hiji, as she's lived in a bunker her whole life. She admits wistfully that the book has sparked a desire in her to experience school for herself. Young-soo realizes that despite the language barrier, she understood the feeling of joy from the illustrations. He reflects on her isolated childhood, finding it sad she never had friends to play with. The chief then wonders aloud what kind of student Langet might have been if she had the chance. He pictures two contrasting scenarios, Langet as a perfect model student, or one who took a much darker path. He first imagines a delinquent version of Langet, armed with a bat and a fiery temper. Snapping back to reality, he dismisses both daydreams as Langet looks on, confused. Her curiosity piqued, she asks if Young-soo's own school days were enjoyable. The chief confirms he attended school, his expression darkening with unspoken memories. His mind flashes back to a younger, masked version of himself consumed by pure rage. The memory shows him bruised and bloodied, yet defiant after a violent confrontation. He uses a piece of cloth to apply pressure to a serious wound on another person. The full memory reveals him patching up an injured security guard on the floor. The guard grimaces through the pain as Young-soo provides emergency first aid. The flashback ends with a young, anxious Young-soo reeling from the intense event. The memory shows a younger Young-soo wiping his bloodied lip while reeling from the incident. Another memory surfaces of a girl with cat ear headphones surrounded by a fiery aura. Her blazing image reflects in his eyes as the intense memory continues to haunt him. The scene shifts to a somber moment, showing him holding hands with a woman in a rainy cemetery. A closer look reveals his anime t-shirt, a stark contrast to the grim atmosphere of the graveyard. His expression is filled with sorrow as he stands in the downpour, lost in the painful memory. Back in the present, he unconvincingly tells Langet that his school days were good. He then amends his statement, admitting that school wasn't always a fun place for him. He gets Langet's attention, his expression softening as he looks at her. Flipping through the comic, he points out a character that he thinks looks just like her. He introduces the cheerful, cat-loving character as a Mane, whose name means sound of heaven. Langet beams with excitement, realizing her own name shares a similar heavenly meaning. Eager to hear the story, she asks him to read it to her later, a request he readily accepts. She mentions the comic's cat has sparked a memory, reaching into her belongings with a thoughtful look. With a flourish, she proudly reveals a small handcrafted doll shaped like a cat. He takes the small offering, his expression softening as he admires her handiwork. Their transport nears a massive structure which Ingress identifies, only for Langet to playfully insist it looks like a cat. The armored transport kicks up a cloud of dust as it speeds across a causeway toward the island fortress. The trio gazes forward in profile, their journey across the Red Plains finally at its end. Ingress announces their destination. The imposing structure is the low-altitude air defense base. Young-soo's gaze sharpens as he spots a critical issue with their approach. He realizes their path is cut off, as the bridge to the fortress is completely broken. Ingress calmly explains the submerged path is due to a local tidal phenomenon. He decides they will wait for the water to recede at dawn and use the time for maintenance. Now at the base's entrance, Ingress immediately gets to work on a nearby control panel. Young-soo voices his suspicion, asking for Ingress's theory on the bridge's destruction. Ingress holds up a data slate, blaming the damage on a direct meteor impact. He reveals a glowing power source, explaining the base's air defense system must have been offline. The two men observe the humming console, relieved to find the emergency power is still active. Young-soo questions if the radar survived, but Ingress clarifies that valuable satellite data is stored inside. Young-soo voices his hope that the abandoned base will provide them with valuable intelligence. High above the desolate landscape, a communications balloon keeps watch against the twilight sky. Ingress decides it's time to make his report to Heiji, who is manning the balloon. Langit takes the communicator, informing Heiji that they have successfully arrived at the location. Heiji responds from her post, asking for a situation report on the damaged radar base. Langit confirms the facility is completely deserted, with no sign of its former commander. After receiving the update, Heiji signs off with a final warning for the team to be careful. Young-soo checks the transport systems, while Ingress confirms their plan to wait until dawn. The chief asks Langit if she sensed any Gurita, but she reports detecting nothing from the power plant. Ingress suddenly interjects, revealing he can feel a faint but definite presence somewhere nearby. Ingress speculates that the cloudy weather is interfering with his ability to track the pheromone traces. As the first drops of rain begin to fall, the team decides it's time to move. With the weather turning, Ingress urges everyone to take shelter inside the base. A sudden, torrential downpour engulfs the fortress, obscuring their view of the submerged bridge. Turbulent waves crash violently against the broken structure, highlighting their isolation. From a high vantage point, Langit watches the storm rage across the desolate landscape. Now inside, Ingress points to their current position on a digital map of the area. He then traces their planned route, which will become accessible once the tide recedes at dawn. Langit turns to Ingress, demanding to know more about the Gurita presence he sensed earlier. He confirms detecting faint pheromones, concluding they are old, and the threat is likely gone. Young-soo presses Ingress for answers, asking if Gurita could still be on the island. He grimly accepts the possibility that they might have to fight their way through. Their discussion is interrupted as Langit returns, announcing she has found a supply crate. She presents her findings: old combat rations from the abandoned base. Ingress takes a ration pack, feeling a sense of nostalgia before asking about the state of the warehouse. Langit's expression turns serious as she reveals the warehouse was a mess and also carried the scent of Gurita. Young-soo questions how a large creature could fit inside, prompting Ingress to theorize about a smaller variant. Ingress confidently dismisses their concerns, assuring them the threat is no longer present. Young-soo struggles to eat the hard ration, earning a deadpan look from Ingress, who advises a better method. The team settles in for the night, finding comfort in the warmth of a crackling fire. Young-soo skeptically questions the edibility of the old military rations. Langit, however, savors the meal, a welcome change from their usual diet of mushrooms. Young-soo discovers that combining the hard ration with mushroom crackers makes for a decent meal. Ingress reminds them to rest up, as their mission resumes before the sun rises. As the storm rages through the night, the team prepares for the coming dawn. By morning, Langit reports that her powerful Terra-naga weapon is fully charged and loaded. Young-soo confirms his own weapon. The Shiranaga is also primed for action. With their preparations complete, Ingress gives the order to get in the vehicle. The armored transport plows through the shallow water, the tide having finally receded. A path has emerged, allowing them to finally cross the broken causeway toward the fortress. Their transport navigates the treacherous, rain-slicked path under the dark sky. Young-soo voices his concern that the structurally compromised bridge might collapse on them. He asks about Gurita pheromones, but Ingress confirms the heavy rain makes detection impossible. From her post, Langit suddenly spots an unexpected obstacle blocking their way. A massive pile of rubble obstructs the path, making Young-soo wonder about a detour. Ingress dismisses the idea of a detour, ordering them to clear the debris while Langit provides overwatch. Armed with heavy tools, Ingress and Young-soo step out into the rain to clear the way. Young-soo brings a sledgehammer down with force, shattering the large rocks blocking their advance. The two men work in tandem, breaking and shoveling the rubble to forge a path. Young-soo finds the debris pile suspicious, questioning why it's concentrated in one specific area. Ingress suddenly halts their work, telling Young-soo to look at something up ahead. A flash of lightning illuminates a mysterious armored figure standing silently on the path before them. Before they can react, Ingress's helmet alerts him to multiple enemies approaching from the rear. Langit confirms from the turret that dozens of small Gurita variants are swarming them. The creatures charge rapidly as Langit unleashes a powerful energy blast from the transport's cannon. Young-soo volunteers to clear the rubble alone, entrusting Ingress with covering his back. As Ingress stands guard, one of the small Gurita stealthily crawls over the rocks, closing in on them. Ingress feels the immense pressure of the situation, fighting to keep his composure amidst the chaos. A full-blown swarm of the vicious, crab-like Garita emerges from the rain-soaked darkness. Young-soo swings his sledgehammer just as one of the creatures lunges forward to attack. Young-soo braces himself as a small Garita leaps through the air to attack. Ingress fires his weapon, intercepting the creature mid-air and saving Young-soo from the pounce. From the turret, Langit urgently signals for Young-soo to get back to the safety of the vehicle. Heeding the warning, Young-soo sprints back towards the transport as more creatures swarm the path. He desperately scrambles onto the side of the vehicle, just as another Garita closes in from behind. The transport's bright headlights flare as it backs away, holding the pursuing monsters at bay. Now safely on top, Young-soo alerts the team to another wave of enemies approaching from the front. A new horde of Garita variants charges relentlessly towards them from the direction of the fortress. Young-soo leaps into action, bringing his energized weapon down on a creature with decisive force. Ingress looks on in surprise, questioning Young-soo's sudden aggressive move. A mysterious light flashes from the distant fortress, cutting through the rain. The team realizes the armored figure on the bridge is the source of the signal. It flashes again, a deliberate pattern confirming it's a form of communication. Ingress's comms pick up a faint SOS signal, a desperate plea for help. Young-soo quickly instructs Langit to tune their radio to a specific frequency. He then directs her to open a specific panel on the side of his helmet. Langit complies, carefully adjusting the external access port on his gear. Young-soo manually tunes the receiver, trying to clear the static from the channel. As he adjusts the frequency, a fragmented voice begins to break through the noise. The signal from the bridge syncs with the message, revealing a distress call from surviving personnel. The voice from the bridge, belonging to a robotic figure, repeats its message due to the poor connection. Young-soo eagerly responds, confirming he can hear them loud and clear. The mysterious figure, her robotic eyes glowing, asks if they are crew from the Atalante. She formally requests they identify themselves by providing their affiliation, rank, and code name. Young-soo, recognizing her as Aleph, immediately asks for fire support against the swarm. Aleph calmly agrees and asks for confirmation to engage the creatures pursuing their vehicle. Without hesitation, Young-soo gives her the green light to open fire. Aleph's targeting system locks onto the Garita horde with deadly precision. The heat sinks on her advanced rifle flare open as the weapon charges for a powerful shot. Taking a firm stance, Aleph unleashes a devastating energy blast at the approaching monsters. Aleph's energy blast obliterates a Garita, providing the team with a crucial opening. Impressed by her accuracy, Young-soo informs Aleph of their plan to enter the fortress. He asks for confirmation, gesturing towards the dark, fortified entrance in the distance. Aleph calmly affirms she knows the location, having already scouted the area. Young-soo then requests a supply drop of weapon batteries at the entrance, which Aleph agrees to. While fending off a creature, he specifies the exact types of power cells they require. She seeks final confirmation to deliver the requested supplies to the designated rendezvous point. Young-soo urgently orders her to proceed, ending the communication to focus on the fight. A surprised Ingress questions the identity of their new ally, prompting Young-soo to explain. He reveals it's the AI from the Atalante, who will provide support as they make their final push toward the fortress. Aleph reports she's in position at the rendezvous point and requests intel on the enemy. Young-soo identifies the creatures as Garita, providing basic biological data for her combat systems. He warns her that while they've faced small variants, much larger ones are also in the area. Mid-briefing, a Garita ambushes Young-soo from behind on the transport's roof. The creature's sharp pincer digs into his leg, pinning him to the vehicle. Young-soo expresses his immense frustration as the overwhelming situation continues. He struggles against the monster, trying to break its powerful hold. Langit notices Young-soo is trapped and immediately moves to intervene. She grabs onto his leg, attempting to pull him away from the creature's grasp. Langit puts all her strength into freeing him as the Garita prepares for a final blow. Ingress shouts his approval, commending Langit for her quick thinking. Now at the wheel, Langit warns the team to brace for a sharp, evasive turn. The transport violently swerves, dislodging the creature as Young-soo notifies Aleph of their approach. From her position inside the fortress, Aleph tracks the vehicle speeding towards the entrance. The AI confirms she will issue new weapons directly to Young-soo upon his arrival. Aleph instructs him to register his biometric information to authorize the equipment transfer. Young-soo orders Ingress and Langit to grab the supplies while he and the AI provide cover. He removes his helmet and kneels before Aleph to begin the security verification process. A red light scans across Young-soo's eye, capturing his unique biometric signature. Aleph's glowing optic confirms the iris scan is complete, granting him access. LF formally issues Young-soo a new rifle, the AT-90A1 Odette, and asks him to confirm the weapon's serial number. She calmly states that protocol is paramount, even in the midst of a desperate battle. The AI's glowing optic reveals her core directive, to protect the lives of the crew. As more Garita charge forward, Aleph cites the Arcadia Mission Protocol O as her justification. She takes a low stance with her bladed weapon, declaring that all hostile entities will be neutralized, leaping into the fray to intercept the charging monsters head-on. With cold, focused precision, she unleashes a swift and decisive strike. She lands in a defensive crouch completely surrounded by the relentless Garita horde. In a single, fluid motion, she dispatches the surrounding creatures, their bodies dissolving into nothingness. However, the fight is far from over, as a new wave of Garita, led by a larger variant, rushes to attack. Young-soo takes aim with his new rifle, noting that the enemy's offensive has finally weakened. Standing atop a fallen monster, Aleph firmly instructs Young-soo to retreat into the fortress. She declares her intention to finish dealing with the situation outside before she follows him in. He warns her not to attempt a total annihilation, and she calmly affirms she will follow soon. Inside the fortress, Langet and Ingress stand guard by the supply crates, looking towards the entrance. Ingress turns with a look of surprise as Young-soo finally joins them. Young-soo waves, announcing his arrival and informing them that Aleph will be right behind. When Ingress asks about their robotic ally, Young-soo confirms she is the administrator AI of the Atalante. He explains her purpose was to aid in crew survival, both inside and outside the spacecraft. Outside, a battle-worn Aleph stands alone, her head bowed in a moment of quiet reflection. Aleph stands victorious atop a mountain of neutralized Garita, her duty to the Atalante crew on full display. Her respite is short-lived as a fresh wave of creatures emerges from the darkness, ready to attack. A massive Garita lunges, but Aleph remains stoic, her face marked by the remnants of her previous battles. She meets the charge with a powerful, sweeping strike from her energy-bladed weapon. Taking a brief moment, the AI processes the ongoing battle, her expression unreadable. Inside, Young-soo senses an arrival, turning back towards the fortress entrance with anticipation. Ingress prepares to seal the gate, ready to secure their position against any pursuers. Young-soo calls out, anxiously waiting for confirmation that their robotic ally has made it back safely. A bright light floods the corridor as a figure rapidly approaches from the outside. Aleph appears at the threshold, reporting that she has successfully broken the enemy's offensive momentum. Aleph wipes away the purple battle stains, her expression unreadable after the slaughter. Young-soo commends her work, but the AI's focus immediately shifts to Langet and Ingress, asking about their identity. He introduces Langet and Ingress, confirming they are his Boomian allies. Her optic flares with intensity as she asks Young-soo to convey her words to the newcomers. Before Young-soo can finish agreeing, Aleph bypasses him, her hand tightening on her weapon. She points her energy blade inches from Ingress's face, who stares back with unnerving calm. Young-soo demands she lower her weapon, but Aleph simply repeats her request for him to translate. Through Young-soo, she asks the million-dollar question, did their species destroy the Atalante? The weight of the accusation hits Young-soo, leaving him speechless as he glances at his comrades. Staring down the blade without flinching, Ingress calmly confirms the horrifying accusation is true.